Good morning, this is Hugo from Rosemount Homestead, and today I'm going to be looking at what repairs I'm going to do to this excavator. It's 5.5 ton Yanmar, and there's obviously a problem with the hydraulics. What it does, it all the functions, all the cylinders operate very slowly and also with no power. So it's common, the problem is common to all the functions. So it's not just one cylinder, it's a lot. So which gives me a clue on what could be the problem. And I'll just go through and just show what I've done so far with this excavator, or what the plan is for today with it. Just before I go and show the excavator, if you'd like to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, please press the like button. Now if you want to leave comments, that'll be good too. I'm certainly no expert at hydraulics. This is my first excavator and I'm learning a lot about hydraulic systems. Most of it's actually from Google and YouTube, that sort of thing, and it's been very useful. So I'm really, any sort of comments would be appreciated. Okay, so let's have a look at the excavator. Now, I started doing some repair work which was unsuccessful, and I'll just tell you what I did, which is going to rule out one of the things anyway. What I thought, because I've got no idea about hydraulics and I'm just learning, is I thought, well, most likely it's got to be the hydraulic pump, because you know that's the engine of the hydraulic system. And if your hydraulic pump is not working, you're not going to get pressure, you're not going to get flow. It could be an issue with that. So I thought, well, take a gamble. And what I did was I got another hydraulic pump, a brand new one, and I replaced it. So this is the new one that's in there, and the reason why I've got all those labels on the pressure lines is because I wanted to make sure they go in the right place. So everything was labelled. So that was a day's job, and unfortunately they didn't fix it. So now I'm looking at testing where the problem could be. Now, as I said before, I'm no expert in hydraulics, but I'm more expert at electricity and electronics, and we'll find that really hydraulics is really very similar to electrical circuit. You can think of the electricity or the electrons running in a circuit, that's like the flow of fluid, and voltage drop in an electrical circuit or device you can think of as like pressure. So those two things are analogous. You can measure the pressure of your system, your pressure, that's like measuring the voltage. Okay, so to measure the pressure, what you can you can connect your pressure gauge to those hydraulic lines, and there's actually you can actually see 3 lines going into that pump. Now these are 3 pressure lines. One of those pressure lines you can see, which is this one here, that one there, that's got a 1/8 inch plug for putting your pressure gauge in. So what I've actually done with these, I need to do the same thing for these 2 here. So I went and bought a fitting that's got the plug in it. So I can now put that fitting in there like that, and I can then put my pressure gauge, screw my pressure gauge to this here, to that point there. So that's what I'm going to do, is to measure the pressures. There's a service manual that I got for this. It tells me what I need to do, what sort of pressures I need to get. So I'll just check what sort of pressures I'm getting, and basically go from there. What you have to do is, under here is the control valve for all the systems that are in this excavator. So I pull this off. There's no bolts to it, so someone's already obviously had quite a go at this stuff. So just try and get it off. There we go. Okay, so just in there with all those pipes, that's connected to the valve, the control valve system. So there's quite a lot of pipes in there, so it looks scary, but I think the manual does say which ones belong to which. I'll just have to check out. Now, there's also an adjustment that you make to the isolation valves. For each one of those has an isolation valve, and you can make the adjustment from above. Here there's some holes here where you can, just in here, where you can then fit a spanner in there or an Allen key and do an adjustment there. So there's ways of doing the adjustment, but then also you need to get underneath it. I'll have to take that cover off to get up underneath, under here. So that's the side view of those valves, and you can't really see the adjustment there, but you'll have to, I'll pull this cover off down the bottom here, and I'll have a better view of it, so I can do adjustments. So what I do when you do the pressure check, you put your gauge behind here, connect your gauge up to the pump 1, or pump 2, or pump 3. Then you, depending on which valve it is, or which each one of these valves control a separate one. So say, for example, this is the one of the valves that control is one of the cylinders. You then, say for example, you then move the cylinder. If that's the one there, you move it depending on which way it is, in or out, or sideways, or nose, and then you check the pressure to see whether that pressure, when it's fully retracted, comes up to specification. And if it's not up to specification, then you can get your Allen key and do an adjustment from either the top or down the bottom. So that's what it's going to do. Obviously I'll probably have a second person to look at the pressure, because you can't operate the machine here and look at pressure at the same time. So I'll get someone to move the gauges, that sort of thing. Okay, so for today, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to install those test fittings so I can then hook up my pressure gauge. And go from there. Okay, so let's get stuck into a bit of work. Well, I managed to get the test fittings installed, 2 of them. They were a bit difficult to get in because they are so long, particularly that back one there, that one there. That one was really hard to get in because it was so long, and there wasn't a lot of room there to put the hose in, but we got it in eventually. So yeah, now the next thing will be to attach the pressure gauges and then do the tests for the things. Now there's talked about relief valves, and I've talked about each of the cylinders have their own relief valve. They call them, well, there's what they call circuit relief valves, and there's also the system ones. So the system ones are more common to everything. So I think it's the I'll be checking the system relief valves first, because I think that could be the problem. So I'll do that for another episode, and I'll get test that. Now I mentioned before that you know, the hydraulics is very similar to electronics or electrical circuits. The only difference is that with a hydraulic system is that the fluid can always, the pump is always running, the fluid is always running. Unlike electricity, when you switch the light off, the circuit gets cut. But in a hydraulic system, you have to have a continuous flowing of the fluid in the pipes, and therefore that's the reason you've got a relief valve, because the relief valve will open when the pressure is high enough and will dump the fluid into the tank, back to the tank, so that when it's not being used by the cylinder or not driving some cylinder, it's being dumped back into this tank. So that's the relief valve. So every circuit, every pipe, every system, every control valve will actually have a relief valve. And I suspect that one of these relief valves, or maybe more, is suspect, or may be just out of adjustment. So it could be simply an adjustment thing, which I'm hoping it is. Because it'll be a very big job to have to change relief valves and that sort of thing, and that means you'll have to get into this here and start doing stuff in here, which would be quite difficult. A lot of pipes to undo. So I just hope that it could simply just be an adjustment. Okay, so that's it for today. It's a very hot day today. It's above 30 degrees Celsius. I think it was meant to be 33, and I'm not quite sure it's 33 yet. Probably be a little bit later on. But it is a hot day, so I'm not going to do any more work today. I'm going to go inside and do some work on the computer, and then later on in the afternoon we'll go and check my cows, see how they're going with the strip grazing. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time.